What is going on, you guys? I'm coming to you today with an Armada build. I haven't been playing Armada lately since Legion came out, and I'm definitely in withdrawals right now, so I wanted to do a build to kind of scratch that itch a little bit and take a look at some more post-FAQ stuff. So one of the things I wanted to do today is kind of focus on squadrons. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, what would be a good squadron build, since now relay isn't that big of a thing anymore. And I was thinking, well, one ship that used to really like the, that didn't need relay, but it could have used it, was the Quasar. And the reason I say it didn't need relay is because it kind of wanted to be in the back anyway. It kind of wanted to be at long range, and it kind of wanted to use that anti-squadron die. So I'm going to throw a Quasar Fire 2 cruiser into this build. And not only that, this is going to be a Tagge build. So we're going to have Tagge as my commander. This is going to be my flagship. Now, you're probably thinking, Tagge is not one of the best commanders out there, and I get that. A lot of people prefer, especially if you're going to go squadrons, a lot of people prefer Sloane, and that's fine too. I'm looking at some different things that maybe Sloane might not be the best for. So let's I want this to be a fun build too, so I'm going to use a lot of named squadrons. One thing, I'm going to use Darth Vader, and Darth Vader is always, he's fun. He's definitely fun. He's extremely effective. He's tough to kill. And I figured I'd go kind of old school here and use a classic combo of Vader and Soontir Fel. Soontir Fel is, they have to shoot the escort, and Soontir Fel is going to give them a damage when they do it. So that much is cool. And I thought I would go ahead and put Colonel Jendon on here. Now, relay is not going to be as important with him, but we are going to try to use the new relay in this build a little bit, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my Quasar Fire, and I'm going to give this guy boosted comms so that he can now go up to long range and now push that relay a little bit further, so we can activate still from pretty darn far. It's just, this is about the absolute limits of when you can do that. So and if you're not familiar with the changes, check out Crabbok.com under Armada Errata, and I have a list of the latest FAQ with it, as long as a summary of the changes as well. I've also done videos for talking about the FAQ, so you can check those out. Also, so let's look at these squadrons now. So I've got Vader and I've got Soontir Fel, and that's great, but still Vader's going to take a lot of attacks. So I figured let's try to give Vader counter with Dengar. All right, plus you need intel anyway, right? So now, now Vader's going to have counter 1, which is going to be nice because his crits do count, right? So he's going to be able to counterattack with crits that are going to do damage. But let's give him more counter than that. Let's go ahead and, for my officer on the Quasar, let's go ahead and add Instructor Goran. Now, granted, Instructor Goran's only going to work when they're close by. So I have some flexibility here. If I want to send them out really, really far with boosted comms, I can do that. But if I need them to be closer to me for defense, which I definitely might need, because the Quasar is going to be my flagship, and it's only got the 1 brace and 1 redirect. That's kind of one of the things that I'm hoping that Tagge will help make up for. You could easily argue that Mahdi might be a better choice here, but hopefully, hopefully I can make Tagge work. But I'm talking about the squadrons right now. I'm not going with people that are going to need Sloane as much. So why am I saying that? So one of the things about this particular build is Darth Vader doesn't really need Sloane. He doesn't want to reroll. He doesn't want to reroll his crits. He gets that black die with a crit. He wants both of that. And so the accuracies, they're okay. But for he's not getting the full advantage of Sloane. Jendon can make Vader attack twice. So again, he's not getting the full advantage of Sloane either. I don't want Vader to be my only escort, so I'm going to throw in Black Squadron as well. Now, Black Squadron is not as tough, but Black Squadron does have counter 1. And to combine with Dengar and potentially also Instructor Goran, I couldn't get counter 3 out of him, which would be a lot of fun. I would like that one. Now we're going to add some more squadrons. So let's go ahead. Now, at this point, I'm thinking, I'm going to do really good. I'm going to have I can attack other ships pretty well. I'm rolling some black dice against ships here, black dice against ships here. Again, stuff that I don't really want Sloane for, because those black dice, Sloane can't really improve those. So we're going to go ahead and think, well, what's our, what's going to be the weakness for the squadrons here? And I think counter is going to be one of my biggest weaknesses, is because I don't really have a good way to deal with A-wings. So I want to put some counter defense in here as well. So I'm going to put IG-88. IG-88 meets a couple of things. For one, I've got a black anti-ship die. Again, something that's not taking advantage of Sloane, but is going to, so again, I'm not hurting by not using Sloane here, but IG-88 is just so good for so many situations. He is also rogue, so again, Sloane isn't going to help. But I also want to add Valen Rudor. Valen Rudor has got this sweet spot of not being able to be attacked, even if it's a counterattack, as long as somebody else is there. So Valen Rudor is really good for that. And I'm a big fan of that. And to round it out, because I do want even numbers, I'm going to throw in Saber Squadron. And Saber Squadron has got the snipe ability. And so snipe is obviously a potential counter to, to all of that fun counter stuff. So we've got some defense against A-wings or interceptors or counter stuff. We've got some counter of our own, and we have a pretty respectable attack pool when going up against ships as well, because we've got IG-88 who can attack on his own with Rogue, but when we've got Vader and Jendon being able to let Vader attack twice. So we've definitely got, and Dengar too. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 black dice we can roll against ships. I mean, so again, not necessarily a squadron build that Sloane would help out a ton. She would only help it out a little bit. So I think I'm justifying Tagge instead of Sloane here a little bit. Hopefully I'm convincing you guys as to what's going on here. So now we've got some weapons teams we need to add. So one of the things I want to put one of my favorite cards that I've been using lately is Ruthless Strategists. It's so good here, since I'm going to attack with this red die. I'm going to hit everybody, and I'm going to be able to just throw out extra damage. I can put some of that damage on Colonel Jendon. I can divide it up pretty much wherever I want. I can give some to IG. I can give some to Dengar if I need to. But it's just or I can put some on Saber Squadron, for example. Saber Squadron is one of those squadrons, if they do get the chance to shoot him, he may just die in a single hit anyway. So why not put a little damage on him here and a little damage on him there? And that's something you make the determination of when you're going up against other ships. If you're just going up against a bunch of TIE fighters, then he could survive that. But if you're going up against Darth Vader's and things like that, then if they have a Merrick Steel out there, that's going to be doing 1, you don't want to have all your guys with 1 health left. So be judicious on how you use Ruthless Strategists. Sometimes you may not need to trigger it at all, but when you are going after that, that ship, that really, really hard to kill ship with 1 hull left, it's just that guaranteed. Or with 2 hull left, or even 3 hull, you could roll a double damage from your squadron command, But it's so good. And then we're going to go with Flight Controllers as our other one, just so we can add extra blue dice to really increase that squadron threat. And that is that. So what else are we going to use? Well, I'm going to add Gozanti, and I'm going to go with just the 1. Now, I had a couple different ways that I wanted to run this. First thing I was thinking is, let's go ahead and, because I do need more squadron activations. So Gozanti is still good for that, even though they've kind of had their share of nerfs as well. But putting Minister Tua on there and an ECM does kind of guarantee you the ability to survive. And if I want to, and also not only that, but people might not even be shooting at it as much now. So I could potentially make it really, really aggressive and increase the squadron value, and then also give it slicer tools. So I can send this one, I can have the Quasar in the back, and then this other Gozanti going right up the middle, carrying some, escorted by squadrons, going right up the middle. And maybe maybe it'd even be nicer to have Goran on the Gozanti cruisers, but then I wouldn't be able to have Tua, and I wouldn't have that guaranteed scatter. So it's always nice to be able to lock that in with ECM. But at the same time, I'm like, but that's a really expensive Gozanti. It's going to potentially cause a lot of harm too, which is cool, but not always something that I wanted. Let's see, and I wanted to also put on a couple of Architans. Since I have Tagge, I was thinking if I put 2 Architans and I gave them each Turbo Laser reroute circuits, since they only have the 1 evade, it's a little bit harder to use them like this. But since I've got Tagge, I can do it without regrets. So I like that. He'll get it back, but this puts me over at 411. So I'm like, well, that's not going to work. But I definitely want those Architects to have the TRC. So I needed to drop 11 points, and so like, how could I do that? I could drop the suppressor title and slicer tools. That brings me right down to 400. And now I've got this super, less of a threat of the Gazantes. All right, they're not as threatening because I took all the title and slicer tools off, but they're still guaranteed to stay alive. But now at the same time, I'm like, well, what do they need that guarantee to stay alive if they're not going to be that much of a threat? So could I spend those points better? And I was thinking to myself, well, turbo laser reroute circuits is a nice thing to have if you've got Intel Officer. So I was thinking, what if I put Intel Officer on these Architects? Because the way Intel Officer works is, it's as soon as you roll your dice, it's before re-rolls or modifications happen, you have to decide if you want to spend the Intel Officer. So if I roll perfectly, then maybe I don't need to use TRC. And, I have all the information up front before, because I'm not going to be re-rolling dice as much with the Architects. I'm going to be modifying them to a specific result. So that really synergizes well with the Intel Officer's ability. So if I know I've got the one accuracy to stop your redirect, and then, or maybe to stop your brace, I can Intel Officer your redirect, and then change my die. And maybe I'll change it to a crit even if I wanted to Intel Officer your contain or something like that. But these are a good combination that'll work well with each other. I am making them a little expensive, but it's going to just synergize really, really well with Tagge. So now Tagge is, affecting all 4 of my ships because all of them, of course, this puts me over the top. So I need to drop down TUA and ECM and expanded hangar bay. This brings me back down to 400. I've only got the regular Gazanti, but I can still afford to have him support the Squadrons, fly him right up the middle. If he loses his scatter, no problem, he's getting it back with Tagge. So I don't need to spend the points on the Gazanti in this case. That's kind of the point of using him there. So that's kind of what I had worked up for the build. So let's go ahead and look at some objectives. So we've got our assault objectives. We've got advanced gunnery. I don't think I really want that here. Opening salvo could be fun since I do get to shoot with the Gazanti. Wouldn't necessarily be the best objective, but it could work. The Quasar Fire is not really doing a whole lot of ships, so like my Architects are my big heavy hitters here, but if I choose opening salvo, that means my opponent's going to be using that right back, and they're probably going to go after my Architects first because they're one of the bigger threats. So it's kind of a tough one there. I think most wanted, though, is probably going to be the smartest choice here because I have a completely unupgraded Gazanti that that will actually be able to survive, and they may not even kill it. So I think most wanted is definitely the option for that. Let's go into defense. Now I have a lot of squadrons, but relay isn't what it was. So like some of these are just going to be kind of interesting. And I didn't get a squadron with I went with the named one, so I don't have strategic, which is kind of a bummer. It would have, partially, it would have been a little bit nicer to have, a regular Lambda, so I would have strategic and have some control with these objectives. But I'm not a fan of capture the VIP in here. I would want maybe a raider or somebody to fly away with it. The Architects can go kind of fast, but they're not as maneuverable. So I don't really like fighter ambush anymore. I like especially, I think fighter ambush is good if you're using all rogues now. It used to work if you had a lot of relay. It's not quite so good with relay now. Not super crazy about it. It can still work. I'm just and it could here a little bit with Gendon, but the idea here is I don't want to overextend my squadrons. It's just if they become overextended, that's when Gendon gives me a little bit of flexibility in case I have to. And this is one of those times where it could work. I could push them kind of far out, and I'd have to deploy my Quasar a little bit faster. Fire lanes is always a good one, but not for this build. It's just not the best. Fleet ambush would be nice here. Fleet ambush would be nice because although it would hurt my squadron point because all my squadrons are going last. But since I have some that could do some damage, I think fleet ambush would be a little better if I had more bombers. And I could kind of get in there on their ambushed ships and try to launch some bombs right away. because of all of that. Now, hyperspace assault. The only problem with hyperspace assault is I would want Tagge. I would want it to be the Quasar, and I don't want to do that right now. I don't want to start without the Quasar. So I'm and jamming barrier. I definitely want more of the a strategic, even though it could potentially be nice. Jamming barrier could be used in this case to kind of protect if I'm sending both of my Architons up, like maybe on the left side. I could potentially have them hide behind the jamming barrier, and then once they get past it, then they have those side arcs. But in this case, I think I'm going to go with planetary ion cannon. It does have a vulnerability to to an enemy using strategic, but I doubt right now we're going to see a whole lot of enemy strategic squadrons. And on top of that, I still get to use it at least once, and it doesn't give my opponent any advantage, whereas some of the other ones can potentially give my opponent an advantage. So we're going to go with planetary ion cannon for our yellow. And for our blues, blue is always a tough one for me because it's like it always boils down to solar corona or superior positions. I mean, not 100% of the time always, but just so often. And I think there's been some talk of some new objectives coming out, and if that happens, that would be great because blue really needs some new ones. There's just some in here I really don't like. I think there's some potential in getting dangerous territory, so this way my ships don't. I can fly them right through obstacles, and that won't bother me at all because I definitely don't want to. My Quasar is not the most maneuverable out there. The Architons aren't the most maneuverable, and it would definitely help me out if I could kind of hide them behind rocks and still, not have to worry about, if they hit them or not. But I think, I think because of Architons and them kind of needing to line up. And set up for a flank, I think I want superior positions or solar corona in this case. In this time, I think I'm going to go with superior positions as opposed to solar corona. Usually, just because solar corona is really helps with somebody locking down that one token. But no, yeah, I don't. If they lock it down, solar corona really actually is kind of good here. For the Gazanti as well as the Quasar. So, losing that accuracy would be probably a little more helpful. Although in the case of superior positions, I'm going to be able to get rear shots on my opponents it shouldn't be that hard considering all the squadrons that I have. But I think Solar Corona is probably being a little bit more worth it, especially if it helps me keep my Quasar alive a little bit longer. So we'll go with that one. But it could go either way in those cases. So this is the build, guys. Let me know what you think. There is another round of the giveaway that is going to start up right now. So if you are a subscriber and you've left a comment, you're already entered. If you are not a subscriber, all you have to do to enter to win is to be to become a subscriber and then leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that, guys. And you can win an expansion of your choice in the form of a $20 Cool Stuff gift card. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and click the little bell for alerts. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and let me know what you think down in the comments below, guys. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.